They didn't just walk away. They didn't just ignore your pain. They looked at you bleeding, burning, breaking, and turned their backs. And that's when the silence started to scream. This is where your story begins. Not in the chapters where things were going well. Not in the filtered snapshots you posted to convince the world you were fine. It began the moment they left you broken. Because in that moment, something inside you cracked, not just from pain, but from clarity. You saw everything for what it truly was. You weren't abandoned. You were freed. Let's not romanticize it though. The shattering hurts like hell. Whether it was betrayal, ghosting, gaslighting, or being discarded like you are nothing, the impact is real. And the world doesn't pause to let you recover. It moves on, indifferent. And you're left picking up pieces of a life you didn't expect to lose. But here's the truth most never say out loud. The people who broke you, they weren't destroying you. They were unmasking you. The mask of the pleaser, the performer, the loyal to a fault version of you that tolerated crumbs and called it love. That version died the moment they walked away. And that death, that's where danger is born. Not danger in a violent sense, but dangerous in the way wolves are dangerous when you've caged them too long. Dangerous because now you've seen the truth. Dangerous because your kindness is no longer for sale. Dangerous because you finally stopped begging for validation and started becoming your own source. There's a reason ancient myths speak of heroes going through loss before they gain power. The fall is sacred. The fall removes illusions. The fall burns away who you were never meant to be. You were not broken. You were forced into awakening. Think of it this way. They left you thinking you'd never rise again. They underestimated the fire they lit when they threw you into the cold. They forgot that some people don't die in darkness. They become it. This is the first phase of transformation. The shattering. Psychologists call this post-traumatic awakening, a moment when extreme loss doesn't just destroy identity, it reconstructs it. You stop asking, why did they do this to me? And you start asking, why did I let it go on for so long? It's a brutal mirror, but it reflects something more powerful than pain. Potential. You're no longer who you were, and the person you're becoming. That version doesn't beg. That version doesn't explain. That version doesn't wait to be chosen. They choose themselves. But before that version fully rises, you must sit in the wreckage, feel it, own it. Let the pain become your blueprint. Because what comes next is the rise of something no one expected, especially not those who tried to break you. After the breaking comes the silence. Not peace, not healing, just silence. It's a terrifying place. You check your phone and there's nothing. You look in the mirror and barely recognize who's staring back. You lie in bed, wide awake, asking yourself the same questions over and over. Was I not enough? Did they ever care? How did it all fall apart? This is the part no one talks about. The long, empty space where the world moves on, you're left behind. But here's the hidden truth. Silence is where power begins. Not the kind that comes from rage. Not the performative kind you post online to prove you're thriving, but real, dangerous power. The kind that grows in darkness, in stillness, in isolation, because in the absence of noise, something strange starts to happen. You begin to hear yourself, not the version you built for them, not the edited personality that tried to fit their expectations. You start hearing your raw, unfiltered truth. And that truth, it doesn't ask to be liked. It doesn't seek permission. It doesn't care who left. This is the sacred moment when you meet your real self often for the first time. There's a name for this in Jungian psychology. The integration of the shadow. It's when you stop pretending you're okay. You stop hiding your pain. And you look at every wound, every scar, every tear, and you say, this is me, all of me. And I'm still here. You stop trying to escape it. You sit in it. You let the silence speak. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to change. The desperation fades. The obsession with closure dies. The urge to be understood disappears. Because in this space, you're learning something terrifying and beautiful. You don't need them. You never did. They didn't complete you. They distracted you from the fact that you were whole all along. You thought their love made you worthy. Now you realize their absence made you dangerous. Because nothing is more powerful than someone who has faced their own darkness and didn't run. This is the forge, the silent, sacred forge where your new identity is shaped. And here's the shift. You no longer ask, why did they do this to me? You start asking, what was I tolerating in the name of love? What part of me was willing to shrink just to keep them? That question, scary as it is your weapon. It cuts through illusions. It dismantles the lies. And once you've asked it, you can never go back. The silence becomes a sanctuary, a dangerous, empowering place where you're no longer a victim but a witness to your own rebirth. You begin to walk differently. Not louder, not faster. Heavier, grounded. You're not chasing love anymore. You're attracting it because you've stopped looking outward and started remembering your worth. There's a moment when everything changes. It's not loud. It's not explosive. It's subtle, like the first movement in a still body or the first breath after drowning. You wake up one morning and something inside you feels different. Not healed, not fixed, but focused. The grief is still there, but it's no longer in control. The pain hasn't left, but it's no longer consuming you. Instead, it's sharpening you. Welcome to the shift. This is when pain stops being something that breaks you and starts becoming something that builds you. You begin to observe things differently. The conversations you used to tolerate now feel insulting. The people who once manipulated you now seem small. The spaces you once begged to be accepted in. You walk away from them willingly. You're no longer moving from emotion. You're moving from clarity. And clarity is power, because when you're not afraid of being alone, you stop giving your power away. When you're not desperate to be loved, you stop settling for anything less than truth. When you're no longer seeking approval, your voice gets sharper, louder, real. Let's talk about what this looks like practically, because the shift isn't just internal, it shows up in behavior. New boundaries. You start saying no. Faster. Not with guilt, with precision. You're not explaining your worth anymore, you're protecting it. Selective energy. You stop responding to old texts. You unfollow in silence. Not to be petty, but because peace costs too much to waste on the past. Ruthless honesty. You no longer sugarcoat what hurt you. You speak your truth not to be understood, but to be free. And most importantly, you move differently. Not rushed, not panicked. You walk slowly now, purposefully, because every step is chosen. Every moment is yours. This is when you start to become dangerous, not because you want revenge, but because you've found direction. Your pain has become your map. Your wounds have become your compass. You're no longer asking what they did. You're asking what you'll do next. This is the point where people start to notice. They may say, you've changed. You're cold now. You're distant. Good. Because you are different. And you're not going back. This shift is sacred. You've moved from breakdown to blueprint. From victim to visionary. And the irony. The ones who broke you, who walked away, who betrayed you, they become irrelevant. Not because you hate them, but because you outgrew them. They were a chapter. You are the whole book. You don't notice it at first, but somewhere between the heartbreak and the rebuilding, something solid starts to form. It's not armor, it's not ego, it's not bitterness. It's identity. Real, rooted, untouchable. You used to perform for people. You adapted. You contorted. You sacrificed your truth for comfort or closeness. But now you're done with that. Now you're becoming. This is when your energy shifts from reactive to magnetic. You don't chase love, money, approval, validation, or attention, because you are the gravity now. People want to be close to you. You don't explain yourself. Your presence speaks louder than your words ever did. So you stop apologizing, over-explaining, or making excuses. You own it. You don't ask for space. You own it. Let's be clear. This isn't about being better than others. It is about being better than who you were when you were trying to be loved by the wrong people. You've exited survival mode. Now you're designing your life with intention. And what rises from that intention is powerful. You pursue only what aligns with your values. You build routines that fuel your mind, body, and soul. You stop settling for relationships, for jobs, for distractions. You no longer escape your past. You study it. You own it. You use it as leverage. And the most beautiful part, you're no longer angry, you're grateful. Not because what happened was right, but because it showed you what you could never see while you were in it. That everything they broke was holding you back. That the version of you they loved was a watered-down version of who you were meant to be. That being left behind was the only way to finally meet yourself. There's a quote that says, "The people who left you didn't reject you. They rejected the part of themselves that saw your power." Read that again, because now that power is no longer hidden. It's alive. It's visible. It's dangerous. Not in the way that hurts others, but in the way that says, "You will never undo me again." This is the becoming, where you look at the person in the mirror and finally say, "I know who I am, and I don't need anyone to confirm it." That self-grounded, focused, emotionally sovereign is the one they never saw coming. That self is your liberation. And hear us what no one tells you. When you become this version of yourself, people start to fear losing you, because they sense what you've become. A person who doesn't need them to feel whole. A person who doesn't fear solitude. A person who's walked through hell and came back wearing the fire. You've rebuilt, you've become. You're no longer who you were and you're not sorry for it. But now something unexpected happens. You begin to look around, and you see others drowning where you once stood. Their eyes look like yours did. Empty, searching, begging for something, anything that proves the pain is not permanent. And you realize, you are the proof. The broken version of you might have needed saving, but the new version, you've become the guide you never had. This is where survival turns into legacy. Not legacy in the sense of fame or fortune, but legacy in the form of impact, quiet, profound, and deeply human. You start leading in ways you've never expected. You listen without judgment. You speak without preaching. You offer space, not solutions. You reflect truth, not comfort, because you know what it feels like to be invited, to be told, you'll be fine when everything inside you is screaming. You don't give false hope. You give real perspective, earned, not borrowed. And this is how true leadership is born. Through scars, through silence, through choosing to be a lighthouse instead of a mirror. Let's make one thing clear. You don't owe anyone your story. You don't have to perform your pain for sympathy or applause. But when you choose to share your truth from a place of ownership, not wound you, create space for others to heal. You normalize the shadow. You become the person who says, you're not weak. You're transforming. It's no longer about revenge. It's no longer about proving them wrong. It's about showing others what's possible even from ruin. This is emotional alchemy. You've turned betrayal into wisdom. You've turned isolation you've turned heartbreak into human power. And that power doesn't fade. It multiplies. Every time you speak truth, every time you stand in your worth, every time you set a boundary without guilt, you remind someone else that they can too. You become the permission they've never received. Not everyone will understand this path. Some will still call you bitter. Some will label you as too much, too guarded, or too intense. Let them. Because the people who get it, the ones who are climbing out of their own wreckage, they will see you. They will recognize your fire. They will follow your light. You are not a victim anymore. You are a living invitation to rise. You don't need loud anymore. You don't need to scream your truth. You don't need to argue for your worth. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just walk. In silence, with strength, and that alone shakes the ground more than 1,000 words ever could. This is the final stage. It's the daily movement of someone who's been broken and rebuilt with steel. Someone who remembers the pain, but isn't ruled by it. Someone who leads without trying, because their presence alone speaks volumes. And here's what's different now. You no longer chase people. You attract energy that matches your truth. You protect your space like it's sacred because it is. You trust your gut. You walk away when something feels off, and you never second guess it. You don't beg for love. You recognize love. And if it doesn't meet you with honesty, depth, and effort, it doesn't stay. You don't rush your healing. You honor it. Because now, every scar you carry is a story of survival and a lesson in becoming. There's no more shame in your past. There's only reverence. You may still cry. You may still miss people you had to walk away from. You may still feel the ache of betrayal on quiet nights. But now, you don't collapse. You breathe. You ride. You go for a walk. You let it pass. Because you've mastered the storm inside you. You've become someone who is calm in chaos. Not because you avoid emotion, but because you understand it. You're not afraid of your darkness. You've been through darker things than anyone will ever see. And that makes you unshakable. So, now, your walk is different. It's rooted, it's silent, it's sacred. People feel it. They feel your energy before you speak. They respect your boundaries before you ask. They know, instinctively, that you are not someone to play with. Because you've paid for your peace with pain. And you're not renting it out for cheap. That's the legacy of your breaking. They thought they were ending you, but all they did was remove the distractions. And when you stood alone in that silence, you didn't die. You rose. Not out of spite. Not out of rage, but out of love. For the version of you that no one protected, you are dangerous now. Because you're finally protecting yourself. And that's the beginning of everything. And that's the beginning of everything.